Hi everyone, my name is Shelby and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about what stress is and how you can prevent it. Stress is one of the very in vogue topics right now. I feel like everyone is saying like, oh, I'm so busy, oh, I'm so stressed. And I'm not sure that everyone is working with that information in the best possible way. I feel like there might be some recognition of the feeling of stress or some of the signs of stress, but they're not actually internalizing that information as something that needs to be addressed. Further, I think that there's a lot of people who think it's normal to take on stress and take on stress and take on stress, and then to reach a point of burnout and then have to pull back versus acting with prevention. Because we know that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So, before I get into how to prevent stress in your life, let's talk about what stress is. So, stress is everywhere and you can't avoid it. Stress can come from a specific event or it can be an ongoing continuous problem. Not all stress is bad either. There are good stressors too, like getting accepted into college. That's stressful, but it's really good. Also, working out. Working out stresses your muscles, but it helps build them and make them stronger. Then there are the obvious bad stressors. So things like car accidents, getting in trouble from your boss a lot, not being able to pay your bills, that kind of thing. Not good stressors. Whether it is from small events or ongoing continuous events, how you handle your stress matters, and preventing stress is crucial in maintaining good health throughout your lifespan. Overall, there's 4 sources of stress that need to be considered when thinking about how to prevent excess stress in your life. The first one is from the environment. These are things like air pollution or wildfires or blizzards. For example, I love thunderstorms. I think that they're super cool and I love watching them, but sometimes there's like a really big rumble and it kind of like gives you a little jolt, It's kind of freaky. The second area of stress is from social situations. So these are things like demands for your time and attention. These could be navigating interpersonal relationships. This could be marriage relationships or family relationships, those kinds of things. The third source of stress is from physiological stress. So again, that would be things like lifting weights. Your muscles are being stressed, and that is hard on your body. Another source could be from things like your eczema, which drives you nuts, or your acne, things like that. A often overlooked source of physiological stress, though, are things like lack of exercise, or poor nutrition, or lack of sleep. So make sure you consider those parts too when you're considering your sources of stress. The fourth source of stress is your thoughts. The Buddha talked a lot about this and how suffering is not the bad event that happened. It's your thinking about the bad event that happened. It's your opinion of the bad thing that happened. It's your attachment to the bad thing that happened and the lack of the good thing that happened. No one event is either good or bad. It is how you interpret that situation. And your thoughts can create stress in your body that wouldn't have been there otherwise. For example, if you think that you are in danger, but there's no real danger there, you will have a bodily response to the danger despite no real danger being there. Your brain created it. Now that you know the 4 sources of stress, I want you to think about what those stress responses actually create in your body. And what they create is the flight or flight response. The flight or flight response is essentially that feeling you get when you get a shot of adrenaline from something kind of freaky, and maybe your hands get all tingly, or your breathing picks up, or your heart starts racing, and it gets hard to think straight. The flight or flight response is a biochemical reaction to stressors in your life. Essentially, what happens, and the Nagoski twins did a really good explanation of this in their book Burnout. So I really recommend you take a look at their YouTube videos or their book Burnout and get a load of what they're talking about, because I'm not going to do it justice here, but this is the summary of it. Essentially, when your body experiences stress, your body doesn't know the difference between fighting a saber-toothed tiger and a negative email from your boss. Doesn't know the difference, and it prepares for those two things in the same way. The way that it does that is it creates biochemical changes in your physical body to prepare you for either fighting or running away. This response helped our ancestors survive very dangerous things out, in the wild before we moved to the suburbs. So any perceived problem, perceived meaning real or imaginary problem, creates a stress response in the body. That stress response looks like increasing your blood pressure, increasing your heart rate, putting oxygen in your muscles to get ready to fight or run away. It also looks like shutting down your digestive system, because we don't need that if we're fighting a saber-toothed tiger, shutting down your reproductive system, because again, we don't need to worry about making eggs if you're fighting a saber-toothed tiger. This is a really useful response in short periods of time when there is physical danger. It is not a useful response when you are experiencing chronic everyday stress that cannot be managed and it will not go away. The reason for that is all those physiological changes in our bodies are good for us to make us perform extra, well in those dire situations, but we don't need those responses when we're responding to emails. So that creates a mismatch in how our body wants to perform optimally day to day versus performing optimally in terms of helping us survive. If your body experiences prolonged chronic stress, some of those systems in your body that have been, deactivated for a period of time can begin to really shut down on you after a while. Luckily, the same mechanisms in your brain that create a fight or flight response also can create a relaxation response. What that means is the body sends signals that there is no longer danger and that you can stop being afraid. Researchers have found that in approximately 3 minutes after danger passes, your physiological stasis can return to how it likes to be instead of being in an aroused state. But what happens if that relaxation response doesn't kick in and we are stuck with chronic stress? There's solid research now that chronic stress can lead to all sorts of physical maladies in the body, such as headaches, digestive problems, ulcers, lack of fertility, fertility problems in men as well. Almost every system in the body is damaged by stress. There's evidence that shows asthma can be induced by stress, diabetes can be induced by stress, stomach ulcers can be induced by stress, leading to stomach cancers. We know that a lot of diseases are caused from inflammation, and stress is a major cause of inflammation in the body. So we need to get a handle on this for our long-term longevity and health span. In the book, How Not to Die, the author describes heart disease and cancer as some of the leading causes of death in this country. And that is a big shift from what used to be the leading causes of death, which were acute infections, whereas now we are suffering from long-term chronic hurts to our body. So thinking about the last year you've experienced, if you've experienced major stresses like a divorce or the birth of a new child, or lots of minor stresses, there are many different sources of stress. So consider what stressful events have happened in the last year, because the more stressful events you've experienced in the last year, the greater likelihood that you could become ill in the future. Managing your stress is so important for you and your family. Here are some ways that you can help prevent and repair some of the stress that you've experienced recently. First, I really recommend just trying different stress management and relaxation techniques. I'm a big fan of meditation and running, but there's lots of different things that you can do. I've seen people doing Tai Chi. I've seen people just chilling out and reading a book and doing a face mask, taking a bubble bath, whatever, right? I really recommend looking into different practices for relaxation and giving them a go. Next, I would really like you to consider your locus of control, or the things that you can control and the things that you cannot control, and then practicing some radical acceptance with that. We also know that stress is less impactful if you take it on voluntarily versus having it thrust upon you. So you might have heard a lot of people on the internet talking about how life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. And that's a perspective shift that can be very powerful. And we know that bodies are able to handle a lot more force and pressure when they want to and not when they're forced to. I also think it's really important just to practice compassion with yourself and remind you of all the things that you have been through recently, and to be gentle and understanding with yourself as you process these stressors. A useful thing that you can also do is learn some time management skills or productivity skills to help make your days a little bit smoother. Finally, I would really recommend some sort of practice of thankfulness or gratitude or service to others to help invite that abundant mindset back into your life after experiencing so much stress. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today to talk about stress and how we can recover from it / prevent it. I really enjoy this topic. I love thinking about it. I love talking about it. If you do too, give me a thumbs up. All right. Thanks, everyone. Okay. Bye.